Mobile. From the Bartlett Giamatti Little League Leadership Training Center in Bristol, Connecticut, a Little League World Series Mid-Atlantic Regional matchup featuring Bear, Delaware versus Toms River, New Jersey, day one of the Regional 6 teams fighting for a ticket to Williamsport. And welcome to Greenfield. I'm Mark Brown. We did throughout our coverage of the Mid-Atlantic region on ESPN+. And what a day for baseball. There's a look at Delaware manager who is one of two mothers who are managing a Little League All-Stars team, state champion, a tremendous accomplished athlete in her own right, including baseball, where she was a member of 3 Women's Baseball World Cups with Team USA, winning the gold medal in 2004. She was the winning pitcher in the gold medal game. How about a 3-hit shutout versus Japan? And this is her lineup from the Canal Little League in Bear, Delaware. Brody Fleming leads off, followed by Logan Wainick and Matthew Rice. Hayden Collins, the cleanup hitter. And then it's Carter Sherman, Phoenix Muloff, Will Caldwell, Dane Johnson, and Jacob Trala. And that is the lineup that this young man, Cole Garrison, will be facing. He's a 12-year-old, 5'6", and he likes to read sports books, of course. Brady versus Manning. Haven't read that one myself, but it certainly is on my list. So Cole's nickname is the Cole Train. Mom Carmen and Dad Mike, sister Alana will be watching on. Quite interested in this one for sure. And there are the Canal Little League All-Stars. They are based in Bear, Delaware. They are the Delaware State Champions. And I don't know, that's an early nomination for coolest uniforms, I think. What do you think of that striping down on the bottom half? Gotta love it. So we are ready for the first pitch of the Mid-Atlantic region. And that is in there from Garrison for a strike. Brody Fleming is the center fielder and leadoff man. And how about the drop on that breaking ball? And quickly ahead, 0-2. Brody's favorite book is Cat in the Hat. 5'3", 95 pounds, great speed. And Garrison wastes that one down and away. Brody also plays football, and he's on his way to 7th grade in the Mount P. Waters Middle School. Runs the count now to 2-2. Brody's favorite athlete and baseball player is Manny Machado, though he is, of course, a Philadelphia fan. And big swing and a miss on the breaking ball, and the first out of the inning. Boy, Cole Garrison looking very good there. Definitely a swing and a miss type of breaking ball. That'll bring up number 2 hitter Logan Wainick. He is the catcher, and he takes ball 1 outside. Logan's favorite sport to watch is football. Checking in at 5'2", 120 pounds. And he takes a strike there. So we're seeing some pretty good command and control from Cole Garrison here. Cole's favorite subject in school is math. And missing just low there. So 2-1 count to Logan Wainick. Wainick's favorite player, Fernando Tatis Jr. And that one's off to the fists and foul. This is the second time to the Mid-Atlantic region for Canal Little League. Also made it back in 2005. And now the count is full. So a chance now for Delaware to get their first base runner. Assistant coaches Matt Rice and John Lednam And that is on the corner for a called strike three. Impressive start for Cole Garrison.
Matthew Rice.
And now the number 3 hitter, so he's got a swinging strikeout. And he has got a strikeout looking. Another good breaking ball. Looks like he throws 2 types. Seems like there's a tighter break, maybe more like a slider, and then he had the big roundhouse curveball as well that we saw earlier. Matthew Rice lays off that one. Matthew's nickname, Matty Ice. Garrison really looking to work that outside corner at the knee. Now the count is 2-1. That one fouled back. Good cut from Matty Ice. He goes to Caravel Academy, his 7th grader. He's one of 3 players from Caravel Academy. The other is Aiden Colley and Will Caldwell. And he takes that one away. So Garrison being pretty careful with this number 3 hitter. He's got a 3-2 count. Nobody on, 2 outs. Interesting to see that Garrison works out of a stretch, keeping it simple. And that ball is lined foul, but that is that one mean-looking swing from Matthew Rice. His coaches say that he is a power hitter. It's bombs. Here's a 3-2 pitch. And again, fouled away. Off at bat here for Matthew Rice. I mentioned Caravel Academy because manager Kristen Caldwell is a teacher and 3-sport coach there, as well as a graduate. And nice walk work there from Matthew Rice. So they do get a base runner in the first inning to Delaware. And that will bring up Aiden Colley. Aiden plays shortstop and the cleanup hitter. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Throw down to first. Rice is back. Pretty aggressive throw down there from Jason Verderosa, the catcher. And now Garrison quickly ahead of the cleanup hitter, 0-2. Aiden's nickname is Ace. Got a couple brothers, Ryan and Justin. Mom Minta and Dad Lane, proud obviously of what their son's been able to do. What a location! Strike 3 call. So 3 strikeouts for Cole Garrison of Toms River East Little League and the New Jersey State Champions. How about this one? And we're scoreless. Going to the bottom of the first.
Little League International strongly encourages all unvaccinated spectators to wear masks while on our complex. Vaccinated individuals may wear masks at their comfort. Thank you for helping to keep our players, volunteers, and fellow visitors safe this summer.
Bottom of the first, Toms River, New Jersey, in their starting lineup. Batting order, Stephen Mulatto leads off. Joey DeMeo and Carson Frazier in the 3 spot. Cleanup hitter is Jason Verderosa, followed by Cole Garrison, starting pitcher. Christopher Tenaro, Dominic Roma, Max Micah, and Kalen Cimorelli. And that is the lineup that this young man, Carter Sherman, will be facing. 7th grader from Alfred G. Waters Middle School. Favorite movie, Sandlot. It's got to be on everybody's top 10, right? 5'5", 130-pound, 12-year-old from Bear, Delaware. The Canal Little League state champions of Delaware, coming into a 6-team region, 5 state champions, plus the champion of Washington, D.C. that comprises the Mid-Atlantic region. And here is the third baseman, Stephen Mulatto for New Jersey. And we got a quick timeout here. Now we're ready to go. Stephen Mulatto, 5 foot even, 96 pounds. Sherman starts with a breaking ball outside. Sherman's nickname is Little Sherm. Get another look at Mulatto, and he is a second pitch swing. It's a deep to center field. What a catch! Incredible. Brody Fleming got a beat on that, makes the leaping catch out in center field. Robbed an extra base hit. That is a web gem. What a way to start. Another look at Brody. Got to be proud of that one. That breaking ball misses off the outside corner. We got our number 2 hitter, Joey DeMeo, up. He just fouls one off the end of the bat there. And another look at Shermer. And misses with that one up. Carter Sherman, Mom Karen, Dad Adam. He's got a brother Austin as well, watching on here. His favorite player, Bryce Harper. Again, that breaking ball down and away. Foul just outside the right field line. 7 pitches so far for Sherman. Of course, pitch count, a huge factor and a very important part of the Little League safety protocols. Fouls it back there. We'll have some more for that as we go, but pitch limits and mandatory rest that's needed in between your pitching outings. Missing again outside, so this count goes to 3-2. That is ball 4. So the second batter is aboard via the walk. It's Joey DeMeo. And that will bring up Carson Frazier, the number 3 hitter. All right, when your nickname is Big Dog, you know there's a lot of expectations there. And if the name Frazier sounds familiar to you, especially when linked to Toms River, New Jersey, there is good reason for that. His uncles Todd and Jeff were major league players. And of course, Todd Frazier still playing currently with Pirates. And of course, he's been part of the Team USA as well as an Olympian. And I think most importantly around the parts of Toms River, he delivered their last Little League World Series championship back in 1998, Toms River East American. So quite a baseball family, to be sure. And now it's back-to-back walks. So 2 on and 1 out For New Jersey, an early opportunity here in the bottom of the first. See if Sherman and his mates can work their way out of this little mini jam here. Jason Verderosa, the catcher. That one gets by to the backstop. Both runners advancing. And you're hearing the crowd from New Jersey. Crowds would be bigger, but there is limited attendance. Pretty much family and team-related personnel, the only ones that can come to the Giamatti Center. Still going to hear from them, though. That's a pretty good crowd, as Toms River East very well represented in Bristol. That one just missing as well. So Sherman's early pitch count here, 18, and he's only got one out so far. The ball was hard, but well foul. So now the count goes to 2-2. Take you about 3 hours from Bristol to get to Toms River, New Jersey. That's pending traffic, of course. Definitely a busy corridor. A long look at that from home plate umpire Boyd Stevens, and he rings him up for the second out.
Cole Garrison.
2-2 pitch. Maybe a little too close to take there for Jason. And now a strike to his counterpart, Cole Garrison, as they chase back Joey DeMeo to second. Carson Frazier on, or rather the third, Carson Frazier on at second. 2 out, 2 on. Cole Garrison takes one way up. Cole looking in for the sign. Down to third base. Can't imagine much would be on here. Just misses the outside corner. Maybe a tad low as well. Cole Garrison can run like the wind, according to his coaching staff. Big hack there. And the count is 2-2. Kevin Hart, his favorite actor, fouls that one away, and is a big fan of the movie Rudy. It's going back a little ways. Timeless classic. He goes to Toms River Intermediate East, going into the 7th grade. Also a football and basketball player, not uncommon. These guys have so many interests. A lot of them play multiple sports, which most people would tell you is a fantastic thing to be doing, no matter what sport is your best. That is inside for ball 4, and now the base is loaded.
Number 2, Christopher Tenaro.
And that will bring up Christopher Tenaro. He is the right fielder. And a left-handed hitter. He takes that one inside, first left-handed batter we've seen for New Jersey so far. Loves Polo G. 5 feet even, and a real nice swing from the left side. His coaches have this to say about him, and you know, all 12-year-olds aren't quite like this. His uniform is always on point, and so is his game. Swing and a miss there. So 2 on, 2 outs, and a 2-2 count. 31 pitches in here for Cole Garrison. And he gets out of the jam with a swinging strikeout. Carter Sherman getting it done and leaves the bases loaded. 1 inning in the books, no score.
helped to defray the costs of running this regional tournament, including the expense of housing and feeding all teams at no cost to the players or their Little League programs. Thank you for your generous support of Little League baseball and softball.
And welcome back, Little League World Series, Mid-Atlantic region action. Very first game of the day and of the region tournaments. Toms River, New Jersey and Bear, Delaware, both state champions. On the road, they hope, to Williamsport. A cloudy day at the moment. There have been some raindrops rolling through the state of Connecticut, but we don't expect it to be a problem throughout day one. Top of the second, and Colt Garrison starts off his counterpart, Carter Sherman, with a swinging strike. And he spills one foul. We talked about his stretch that Garrison uses as we look at Sherman, another Sandlot fan. We're going to tell you about a whole bunch of those as we go through our coverage. 5'5", 130 pounds. See Garrison working out of that stretch. A lot of coaches think it's a good idea to have players work out of the stretch. A compact, simple delivery with a smaller windup. Obviously works for Cole Garrison. Well, Brody Fleming is up into the Delaware bullpen right now. And that's a pitch count scenario. A little trouble for their starter, Carter Sherman. And it's about keeping you available for future games. If they're looking at it and saying, hey, you know what? Might not be Carter's day. We want to come back and use him 2 days from now. Then they'll have to limit his pitch count. This is Phoenix Luloff, 5'1", 83 pounds. Fouls it off. Member of the Canal Little Leaguers. Phoenix's favorite player is Manny Machado. Takes that one up. 2-2 count here. Manager Kristen Caldwell says Phoenix is a player she's coached since he's been very, very young. He lays off that low. Almost called that strike three. Did not go. As they appeal down to first base umpire Keith O'Brien. Second base umpire is Stephen Kalenda, and third base Kai Davis. Boyd Stevens behind the plate. 3-2 count. Ground ball back up the middle. Scooped by the shortstop DeMeo, and over the first for the second out of the innings.
Will Caldwell.
All right, we talked about the pitching rules and perhaps why we are seeing a reliever up in the bullpen. If you throw 66 or more pitches, you need 4 complete days rest. If you throw 51 to 65, it's 3 full days rest. 36 to 50, it's 2. And right now, the starting pitcher for Delaware, Carter Sherman, threw over 30. So that's a lot to throw in the first inning and expect to be able to make it. There is a 85 max pitch count that you can throw in any single game. And another lefty up here for Delaware. This is Will Caldwell. His mom, Kristen Caldwell, is the manager. Takes another big swing. And there is Mom. Didn't play softball as a youth. She played Little League, the only girl on her Little League team. Said it was one of the great experiences of her life. Oh, backdoor breaking ball. Called strike 3, and we've got an inning and a half in the books. We've had some base runners, no hits yet. New Jersey coming up in the bottom of the second. And welcome back, 2021 Little League Baseball World Series on the road to Williamsport, Delaware, and Toms River. An inning and a half in the books, no score yet. In fact, no hits. Some pretty good pitching arms on the mound for both sides as Dominic Roma will be leading off the bottom of the second for New Jersey, facing Carter Sherman. Sherman's pitch count is up to 33 at the moment. And that one misses outside. Dominic Roma, nickname is Romes. He is the youngest of 5 kids in the family. Mom Melissa and Dad Mark. And may have chased that one and strikes out swinging. So Dominic Roma down on strikes, bringing up the number 8 hitter. Let's take another look at this one. This one was up and away. Nothing you're going to be able to do with that one. Got to expand the zone with 2 strikes, but maybe not that much. Here is Max Micah, the second baseman. His father, Paul, is the manager. Fouls that one back. Nickname is Money Max. One way outside. Sherman could use a quick inning here. And he is ahead in the count with 1 out, nobody on. Getting the hitters to chase a little bit here. 2 up, 2 down, both via swinging strikeouts. It'll bring up the number 9 hitter, Kalen Cimarelli. Kalen is the right fielder. Nickname is Sim. Lays off that one up high. One goes to the backstops. Kalen Cimarelli most looks up to his dad, Wayne, and of course, mom, Irina. Loves Giannis Antetokounmpo as well. Giannis getting that first championship just a few weeks ago. That's in there for a strike. He's taking on 2-0. Now 2-1. Took a nice swing at that one as he fouls it back. Both these teams have 13 players, which means their obligation for the mandatory minimum play rule would be to get every player on the team at least 1 at bat. And what we have seen over the years in these Little League regionals is those guys who only get 1 at bat, boy, they often become a major factor in the game. That one was ripped. Looked like it was headed to right field, but instead snagged beautifully by Delaware's Matthew Rice. How about this one? Another web gem in Bristol. There is Matthew Rice, Matty Ice, as he snagged a laser beam of a line drive at first base to end the inning. One of the key hitters on the team, also a great defensive first baseman, as we are finding out. Top of the third now, no score, no hits either for either team just yet. Dane Johnson, the left fielder for Bear Delaware, will lead off the top of the third. And he takes that one at the knee on the corner. Loves the Madden video game. That one dropping just out of the strike zone. Trying to work his way out of this hole, Dane Johnson against the Coal Train, Cole Garrison on the mound. Nobody on, but that was a fantastic block of the ball in the dirt by Jason Verderosa. Two-two. Nobody out, nobody on. And swinging strike three. The strikeouts are adding up here for Cole Garrison. He struck out 3 in the first, 2 in the second, and now his 6th strikeout. And we are just in the top of the 3rd inning. 40 pitches so far for him. Number 9 hitter Jacob Trollo, the right fielder. Oh, when you can locate strike 1 on that spot, you are going to do well. Jake is 4'11", 85 pounds, loves the goat emoji. Wow, Garrison hits the spot again. 0-2. And a slow ground ball towards first, who's covering. They get the second baseman over there. Max Micah.
Number 13, Brody Fleming.
That's another look here. You know, the traditional coverage, ground ball to the right side is pitcher covers. In this instance, they go with the, you do see this a lot in Little League where the second baseman cycles over there. In any event, it was done nicely and cleanly. Back to the top of the order for Delaware with 2 outs, and there's some of that blocking skills that we're seeing there. You gotta love the work effort for him. Nobody on, but still fantastic. Fundamental blocking by Verderosa. Another ground ball, this one towards short. DeMayo up with it, and an impressive stretch by Romo, perhaps not needed. Oh, a clean game with some great pitching and great defense. Middle of the 3rd. Are we looking at some future Little League World Series Mid-Atlantic stars? Someday coming to Bristol, where we are today, Bear, Delaware, where Canal Little League is located, taking on Toms River, New Jersey. 2 state champions looking to continue on the road to Williamsport. And we are scoreless in the top of the 3rd inning. Mark Brown with you throughout our coverage on ESPN+. New Jersey goes back to the top of the order in Steven Mulatto. He takes strike 1. Mulatto ripped one to dead center in the top of the first, bottom of the 1st. And he's got another one headed to the outfield. This one drops into the gap. And he's in there legging out a double. Steven Mulatto. He's about the only guy that's been able to get consistent contact. What a hit. Nickname is the Turtle. He sure doesn't run like one. Runner in scoring position. That ball gets away, and Mulatto advances down to 3rd. Steven Mulatto has been playing inspired ball, even more so than usual. Mom passed away a few years ago and is playing to honor her memory. Well done, young man. And that ball is outside. Joey DeMayo takes another one out, and 2-2. So this a big threat here for Toms River East Little League. The meat of the order up. And that one called strike 2. This is where these hitters have to adjust. Where do the pitchers like to throw? Where are they getting it? That ball is hit deep to right field, way back and off the wall. Mulatto is in to score, and DeMayo on his way to 3rd. And he is in there safely with an RBI triple. Well, after no hits through 2.5, it's back-to-back extra base hits for New Jersey and the 1-0 lead. And we're going to get a mound visit here, 54 pitches. Looks like there may be a pitching change. Going Oppo and getting plenty of it. Almost taking it out. It hits the base of the wall. Right fielder Trolla doing a very nice job getting it in and hitting the cutoff. So the baseball played well, both offensively and defensively there. Just couldn't get the out. DeMeo speed too much. So now we got a real opening here. Starting pitcher Carter Shermer being taken out here. And he is past the 50 number on the pitch count, but you can finish the batter and still be credited only with the 50, which would require 2 days rest. Here's Brody Fleming. We saw him warming up in the bullpen briefly after the first inning, and he comes out of center field where he made a brilliant play on the first batter of the game for Toms River. So he'll get his warm-up pitches, what he needs after coming in from the field.
Now pitching for Delaware, number 13, Brody Fleming. Other defensive changes.
Find Little League on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the official handles at Little League. Follow the action and join the conversation with hashtag LLWS. They look at the Toms River East fans, and they are definitely feeling good about how things are looking here. Nobody out, 1 run in, and a runner on third for the number 3 hitter, Carson Frazier. He hits a slow roller. They will hold at third, get the out, well handled by Brody Fleming rather. And it leaves DeMeo on third.
Number 20, Jason Verderosa.
Jason Verderosa now up, first pitch swinging, hits one high into center field where Dane Johnson easily makes the play, but no chance to get DeMeo tagging up and scoring. So a sacrifice fly for the catcher Verderosa. And the second out of the inning, Cole Garrison looks at that one outside. A 2-0 New Jersey lead. And a relief pitcher already into the game for Delaware. That one is up and in. Cole Garrison looking to help himself at the plate. And he grounds one foul off the left side. Sherman has moved to third base after coming off the mound in favor of Brody Fleming. 2-1 pitch to Garrison. And a slow roller. This is going to be a tough play. And not only does he beat it out, the throw goes into right field, foul ground, so we'll advance on that. That really was effectively a swinging bunt. Great speed on the bases by Garrison. I don't think they could have got him at all at first base, but what do we got here? Shortstop claiming that Garrison stepped off the bag while the tag was still being applied. Be interesting to get another look at that. See if it is reviewable. Here's a look. He's in safely, doesn't slide, steps on the foot, pops up. he looks okay to me. We got another angle of this. I guess if his foot was... Oh, there's more? There's more? Well, the umpire was right there, was watching, clearly. Shortstop Aiden Colley. Okay, so now we're hearing maybe that the appeal is going to be that the ball hit the batter's foot in the box, which would make it a foul ball instead, and the batter would still be up. So let's take a look at this one. But you gotta love the cagey, cheeky play by Austin Colley, and it almost worked. So let's take a look. Does this ball hit Garrison in the box after he hits it? From that angle, doesn't look like it. Here's another look. It definitely hits dirt first. Does it then come up and hit his lower leg? This is a good angle for that. Inconclusive, can we agree on that? We'll see. Home plate umpire Boyd Stevens undergoing the review. It is Delaware that's challenged it, because with 2 outs, it could bring the base runner back home to continue his at-bat. Players out there chatting it up. Let's take another look. One more look. Now, nothing to tell you that it hit the batter anywhere in the box. That is for sure, which would make it, by definition, inconclusive. And that is what Boyd Stevens, a home plate umpire, has determined after replay review. So the play stands as called. We've got an infield single on that because he was beating that out no matter what, and advancing to second on the throwing error. So 2 out, runner on second, 2 runs in for New Jersey. And Fleming's pitch is outside to Christopher Tanaro, the right fielder. He hits it hard to the left side into the hole. A spectacular defensive play by Aiden Colley. However, no chance to get the speedy Tanaro. But how about how deep in the hole he went to get that one cleanly. So the rally continues. Runners at first and third. There's a Jaden Colley. My goodness, what a player. Dominic Roma takes the pitch up. And Tanaro takes second base without a throw, with Garrison remaining on third. Dangerous spot here right now for Delaware. They need to stop this now. The ball is fouled back, 1-1 count. Dominic Roma, favorite athlete Shohei Ohtani. You cannot blame him for that. That is a absolutely unprecedented athlete in Major League Baseball, Ohtani. And Roma wearing Ohtani's number, 17. He goes down low to get that one, and the ground ball is scooped up, stepped on first. Matthew Rice ends the inning, but not before New Jersey gets 2 runs on 4 hits, 2-0 through 3.
What a summer, what a season. No regrets. Swing it, baby, swing it.
It is dropping, the dive, and the catch is made.
Whatever happens, guys, again, it's going to be a great day. Very proud of you guys. Let's have some great fun today, huh?
Little League World Series from Williamsport. That's where these guys are dreaming of going. And well, hearing that sound, the emotions of the teams and the coaches, these are days these boys and in some cases girls will never forget. Delaware, well, they need a base runner, top of the 4, down 2-0 to New Jersey. And a good swing there from second baseman Logan Waynick. Actually, catcher today. His dream job, Major League Baseball player. This is his second time up, struck out looking in the top of the 1st. As Cole Garrison has held Delaware without a hit, and that continues, another strikeout. 7th of the game for Garrison. Still has yet to hit the 50 pitch count.
Number 22, Matthew Rice.
He is rolling along. And he gets a swinging strike on the off-speed breaking ball from Matthew Rice, who walked in the 1st inning. It's the only base runner that New Jersey has allowed. Foul that one away. Matthew Rice, 5'5", 135 pounds, the number 3 hitter. 12-year-old favorite singer is Drake. Oh, 0-2 pitch on the way. And he pulls that through the hole on the left side for the first hit of the game for Delaware.
Number 24, Aiden
All right,
Colley.
so a little something going here for Delaware. 1 on, 1 out, and the cleanup hitter, Aiden Colley, coming up, who has been showing some spectacular defense already today. Swing and a miss. Meat of the order here, 3-4-5. Carter Sherman, the number 5 batter, is on deck. The ball's in the dirt, and the throw down. Jason Verderosa continues to impress behind the plate. Ball doesn't get by him. And he is not afraid to try to pick off those runners. And that one, a wild pitch up and away, gets to the backstop. So Rice gets on down to second base. Just 6-inning games in Little League, so more than half of it has gone by for Delaware. And we've got a mound visit here as we get to the 50 pitch count. Now, a lot of coaches will strategize here and say, look, we got a lead, we got more great pitchers. If I take you out now, I only have to wait a couple days before I can pitch you again. So I'm not sure that's what's happening here. But if they are taking him out, this is what they won't be getting from Cole Garrison, which has been spectacular location, command, 7 strikeouts. So that was just a chat there. They will leave him in. Good call, Coach. Just missing there. 1 out. This is Colley, who struck out looking to end the 1st inning. just getting his second at bat here in the fourth. Fouls it to run the count full. It is very common, though, for these managers to have a plan, take guys to 50 pitches, bring in the next guy. They have great confidence in the others that they're bringing in. Managing pitching is, boy, it's about as important as anything in the strategies. Doesn't always work out. And we will see that throughout the week. It will be a mix for sure. One out, man on second base. 3-2 count. Staying alive is Colley. And as you'd expect out of a cleanup hitter, you know, he's not shortening it up with 2 strikes, just trying to put it into play. He is looking for something to drive. We'll see if he gets it. Another 3-2 pitch. And we're going to get another one. Aiden Colley, Mom Minta, and Dad Lane. A couple of brothers, Ryan and Justin. Favorite athlete, Alex Verdugo. Also loves Xander Bogaerts and the Red Sox. Swing and a miss, strike 3. So 2 out now. 8 strikeout today.
Number 34, Carter Sherman.
For Cole Harrison. So Carter Sherman now playing third base after starting the game on the mound. Looking for a little 2-out RBI here. Ooh, again, painting the outside corner. Either a little slider or maybe even a cutter. Either way, it has been a damaging pitch for him. Swing and a miss there. And you see catcher Jason Verderosa with the runner on second. Coming out, running out a couple steps. Not wanting a big secondary lead to be taken. Swing and a miss, strike 3, so he gives up a hit, but no runs. 3.5 in the books. New Jersey coming to the plate with a 2-0 lead. And welcome back, Little League World Series. Fans are loving it. Canal Little League families enjoying this, watching their kids out there, trying to keep that dream alive. We continue on the road of the boys of summer and head for Williamsport. Brody Fleming on the mound now for Delaware. It is the bottom of the fourth. New Jersey coming up with a 2-0 lead. Not sure what that delay was about, but we are back in it. And we do have our first pinch hitter of the game. This is Adrian Bellotti batting for Max Micah. And he's quickly behind 0-2. So a 13-player roster. He fouls that back, which means all 4 of your non-starters need to get an at-bat. What we do have, at least according to the lineup, is that New Jersey is missing one of their players absent today, Tommy Intantola, which leaves them with 12, but they do have a roster of 13. So I study these rules pretty closely. I'm not 100% sure what happens. Does this become a 12-man roster today, which means everybody's got to play 6 defensive outs? Or do you still get the benefit of having a 13-player roster? So here we go. Strikeouts and out number 1. Bellotti took his hacks. And this is Kalen Cimarelli's number 9 spot, but I would expect to see another pinch hitter, and we do. Dominic Sabatino. And he's up there swinging as well. Dominic, according to his coaches, keeps everyone on their toes. And there is Dominic. Nickname is Sabo. Mom Amy and father Dad. And he tries to fist one out there into right field. Just foul. Another big family here. He is the youngest of 4 brothers, including Lawrence, Charlie, and Bobby, who he looks up to most. That one almost hit him. Sabatino gets out of the way quickly. And he works the count full. Top of the order up next, Stephen Mulatto, who has hit the ball hard twice in his 2 at-bats. That's hit pretty hard too, but again off the right side. 23 pitches so far in the game for Delaware reliever Brody Fleming. That one is up for ball 4. So Sabatino works a 1-out walk. And we go to the top of the order. Stephen Mulatto. Now clearly
Pinch hitting for New Jersey, number 12, Jalen McLean.
Well, I was going to say, are we going to get a pinch hitter for Stephen Mulatto, who's hit so well? And we are getting all these players their mandatory at bat. This is Jalen McLean. And he fouled off a bunt attempt. Favorite athlete, Kobe Bryant, 5'4", 12-year-old. Squares to bunt again. This time he gets it down and gets the runner over. So McLean does his job. Every little thing counts in baseball. All of these little plays, get the guy over, do your job, execute the bunt. Might be your only at-bat of the game, and he did something with it. Great job, Jalen McLean. And this is Joey DeMeo coming up. Walked in the first, RBI triple in the third. Pulls one to the left side. Third baseman Sherman up and over to first, and he's safe. Infield single for DeMeo, and it's runners at first and third. Here's another look at it. Sherman playing a little bit deep. Comes in, clean play, quick release, absolute laser. Nothing more he could have done. We'll see how close this was. Looks like it's a good call of safe, as DeMeo really got down the line. Keeps the inning alive for New Jersey. And still a dangerous moment here. DeMeo gets down to second and third. And a fantastic block by Logan Wainick behind the plate to keep the runners right where they were. 1-1 pitch. Ooh, that had a nice little break on it. 1-2. Big spot right now for the reliever, Brody Fleming. And that curveball stayed up. A very nice job of framing by the catcher, Verderosa. Check that way, Nick. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. And Delaware gets out of it. Brody Fleming keeps the game at 2-0. Want to see some girls with game? Tune into the excitement of the Little League Softball World Series from August 11th to the 18th. And visit littleleaguesoftball.org for great content and information about starting a softball league. And this game moving very quickly. Some outstanding pitching and defense, keeping this one low scoring. Delaware coming up, trailing by 2. Top of the 5th, and Tristan Marley in to pinch hit in the number 6 spot. Phoenix Luloff grounded out in his first at bat in this spot. Tristan Marley, the first of 4 pinch hitters we expect to see very soon for the New Jersey lineup, and he takes a strike there. Not a fan of it, but that has been the zone. Gerritsen has put it there over and over again, and it has been a strike, and that's the thing for hitters, right? You gotta realize what each umpire's zone is after you've seen him for the first few innings. It has been consistent. 5'7", 145 pounds, best nickname of the day so far, T-Sizzle. Tristan Marley had a pair of aunts that made it to the softball Little League World Series. And that's a good take right there. He's seeing some pitches here. Aunts Brenda and Jesse were fantastic softball players, clearly. Three-two pitch. And that is in that spot where Garrison has hit over and over and over again, particularly in 2 strike counts. Look at this location, his 10th strikeout of the game. First out of the inning. And I'm just checking in on the pitch count there. Pitch number 70. And first pitch swinging and a single into left field. That is Chase Lednam, the second pinch hitter of the game, and he does his job. That's what I'm talking about. They are all all-stars. They are all state champions. Do not be fooled if they are not in the starting lineup. Nice job from Chase Lednam there. Took advantage of his opportunity. He has helped his team. He is on first base with a single. And another pinch hitter coming up, Liam Fresconi. Favorite actor is Jim Carrey. You can see why. 12-year-old, 5 feet even, and 105 pounds. Look at that concentration. And he takes that one outside. 1-1 count. Another big swing coming off that bench. Fresconi fouls it off the right side. Fresconi's parents, Mom Kim, Dad Frank, has a sister Emma, who's 15, brother Owen, who's 9. No doubt he's playing Little League Baseball somewhere. Big aggressive swings here. Tell Fresconi's got some pop if he can barrel one up. 1-2 count. Takes that one up high. one more substitute player that Delaware will need to get to the plate. Probably see it this inning. That ball is hit well to right field, and it drops in for a single. Back-to-back singles for Delaware from their substitute players. They only have one hit in the game coming into that. These guys have just given them two more. Fantastic stuff. And that'll bring up Julian Onley. He takes one outside. Onley's nickname is Jules, one of 6 kids in the family of Kylie and Anthony. And another visit to the mound. You can only take 2 visits in one inning, and on that second visit you need to take the pitcher out, or 3 to that same pitcher over the course of a game. This is the first of this inning, the second time that Paul Micah has been out there to talk to Cole Garrison. Garrison has yet to give up a run. Those 2 hits are 2 of just 3 that he's given up so far today, and he has gotten out of a previous jam. Garrison ready to go. First and second, one out. And that ball is hit towards right field. And the play is made by Adrian Bellotti. And now 2 outs. Boy, these pinch hitters come out swinging the bat for Capitals, rather the Canal Little League. So 2 on, 2 out. Still New Jersey and Garrison holding on to that 2-0 lead. And we got the top of the order, Brody Fleming at the plate. Strike 1. Fleming struck out and grounded out to short in his previous 2 appearances. Needs something from him here. And he takes that one up for a ball. Pitch count now busting the 80 mark. So you can throw 85 pitches maximum, and if you reach that limit while still facing a batter, you can finish that batter and then would have to be removed. That ball is down. So Delaware, even if they can't come through here, they'll be happy to know that Garrison likely cannot finish this game. And that ball hit towards third, heads up play, scooped by Kalen Zimmerelli to end the threats. We go to the bottom of the 5th. When we come back, New Jersey's got the 2-run lead.
Log on to bristolallheart.com to find out about our hidden gems, attractions, and places to eat while here at the tournament. It's the place to go when you need to know where to go. bristolallheart.com. Our concession stand is open behind first base, the first base grandstand. Due to safety precautions this year, our concession stand is offering a limited menu. Visit the concession stand now for an ice-cold beverage, ice cream, or...
They are down 2-0, bottom 5. New Jersey coming to the plate, looking to add
number 20,
to that
Jason
lead.
Verderosa.
Brody Fleming on the mound for Delaware, and he starts Jason Verderosa with strike 1. Last time up, Verderosa had a sacrifice fly driving in the 2nd run of the game. He hits that one hard, but foul. Cole Garrison on deck, followed by Christopher Tanaro. 0-2 count. Tries to get him chasing. Good layoff there. Verderoso's nickname, well, he's got two, Ribeye and Big Boy. And he hits one hard to the right side, and it gets through. Little Caldwell out there trying to make the play, and that might have caught a piece of a wrist, hand. So the leadoff man is aboard. Verderoso is the catcher, so they will send in a special pinch runner. Here's a look at it. This is a hard hit ball. Yep, and it took a bad hop just on that last hop just before. And Will was in great position. He was down in front of the ball. Took a bad hop.
Coming in to pitch for Delaware, number 24.
And we do have a pitching change here
Shortstop,
as they continue to check out Will Caldwell, as Aiden Colley will come from his shortstop position to replace Brody Fleming. There is a look at Colley. He's made some great plays defensively at short, which is where Brody Fleming now goes back to. Brody started the game in center, came in to pitch, now playing short. These guys have some incredible versatility. Got to be able to play anywhere, and that's why these all-star teams are so good and so successful. As we look at Colley with his warm-up pitches, Colley's nickname is Ace, and he has grown a lot, as the young ones will tend to do. When he joined with this team around 10 years old, most of these guys have been playing together for at least that long. There's some new guys added along the way, but Aiden Colley was one of the smallest. He's now one of the tallest, and his coaches have described him as a five-tool player. Got it all. And also the best hair. That's what the coaches say. You judge for yourself. It's pretty good, no doubt. So he will inherit a runner on first and nobody out. Facing Cole Garrison. And the pinch runner, who we did not identify at the time, is Steven Mulatto. Obviously, the nickname Turtle is sarcastic or some other reason. It does not refer to his speed. Kid's lightning. Big swing from Garrison, and he goes down on strikes. So, first batter that Colley faces gets the first out. Christopher Tenaro, the right fielder, who has struck out and singled. Hitters count here, 2-0 for Tenaro. Had a good look at it. Took his rip on the hitter's count. Now it's 2-1. That one got away from him, and down to second goes Mulatto. Maybe a little closer than we thought it would be. That ball just ricocheted back very quickly off the short backstop. But Mulatto in there safely. Runner in scoring position, one out. And Tenaro swings through fastball. Runs the count full. Denaro hits it hard to left, but foul. That could have been trouble if it were fair. Denaro's favorite player, Derek Jeter, tells himself before every at-bat, I can do this. That's called a positive attitude, and he draws a walk. And of course, as often is the case, who's your favorite player? Well, you try your best to get that number. Can't always get it. But Denaro did, as he got that walk as well. First and second. Nobody else. So the tying run is on first base. Go-ahead run at the plate in the form of Dominic Roma. And he takes the ball way outside again. Outside as well, so a 3-0 count. This is definitely a tight spot here for Delaware. They really need to get out of this without giving up another run to come to the plate in the 6th for what could be their final at bats. And that one grooved in there, taking all the way was Roma. And that one is on the inside corner. It sent Denaro jumping back a little, but that one tailed right back in. Very good pitch from Collie. But then walks him, so the base is loaded. Back-to-back walks. And everybody advances. And we got Max Micah. And a little visit.
Max Micah.
Between catcher and pitcher. Logan Waynick out there. Also Matthew Rice, words of encouragement. Delaware team, many of them have been together since age 8. And coming into Bristol here, this team since age 8 has only lost one game in Delaware. That ball drops for a base hit. One run is in, second on the way, play at the plate, and he is out. Fantastic defense to keep it at just one run. Oh, you gotta love that.
Number 27, Kaylin Cimarelli.
Let's take another look at that. As the infield is in, so this one drops easily. And the right fielder, Phoenix Luloff, just comes in and hoses him at the plate. Two outs. And he wanted that one back, did Kaylin Cimarelli. And did he hold? Check down to first, and they say yes, he did hold. That was close. Two-one pitch. And ground ball to short. Quick bobble. They get him. Way to stay with it. Brody Fleming didn't panic. Got the force out. So now Delaware will have what could be their last at bat. Top of the 6th coming up. Little League would like to extend a special thank you to its official sponsors like Major League Baseball's Play Ball Initiative, who help maintain the strength and leadership of the Little League program. Little League would also like to thank its dedicated volunteers who make the program a special experience for millions of children.
Number 8, Logan Waynick.
Top of the 6th. Delaware is down 2-0. Down to their last 3 outs. And a new pitcher, Joey DeMeo, is in. And throwing well there, 1-1 count. So that will close the books on the pitching performance by Cole Garrison. 5 complete, 83 pitches, no runs, 3 hits, 10 strikeouts. And just for the record, Cole Garrison could have pitched to another batter. There he is. But then would have had to been removed on 85 pitches. And Toms River East Little League manager Paul Micah deciding, no, we're going to get somebody warmed up. We're going to get him to start the inning clean. And that's what he's done here. And DeMeo is on to try to close it out. 2-2. Catcher Logan Wainick up. Struck out his first 2 times up. And a great take there on 2-2. Let that breaking ball break out of the strike zone. Delaware needs base runners. Ground ball towards short. Handled nicely by Garrison. And that's 1 out in the 6th. And a reminder, it's a modified double elimination tournament, so simply losing your first game is not enough to take you out of the tournament. You just move to the elimination bracket. Can't afford another loss, but you continue. Matthew Rice singled his last time up. Mighty swing and a miss. 0-1. Is down and away, 1-1. A lot of power in that swing, but only able to foul that one off. A lot of heat on that one, but missing as well. 2-2. And he struck him out, went up and in on the hands to get the power hitter Rice down on strikes. So 2 down. And Canal Little League of Bear, Delaware. The Delaware State champs down to their final outs. Aiden Colley, the cleanup hitter, at the plate facing DeMeo. That one well down and away. The winner of this game will play 10 a.m. tomorrow against Maryland. Maryland, one of the 2 teams that had a bye in the first round in the Mid-Atlantic. Fouls that one off for 1-1. As I said, the loser of this game goes to the elimination bracket. They will be off tomorrow and then play Tuesday at 10 a.m. against a to-be-determined opponent based on results between now and then. The ball hangs inside, 2-1. Just dealing a fastball there. 2-2, 1 strike away for New Jersey. Two count. Staying alive. Jaden Colley. All right, 2-2 pitch on the way again. 2 out, 3-1 New Jersey lead. Looking to close it out. And they do. Swing and a miss on the curveball. And DeMayo gets the save. New Jersey wins it 3-0. They will stay